Welcome, everybody, to Games for Everyone. I am Jason, and I am joined by these handsome young devils. Nick from the Linux Experiment. How you doing, man?
Hey, doing great, thanks. Happy to be here, and yeah, let's talk some gaming a little bit.
And Liam, founder, creator, writer, gamingonlinux.com. Good to have you back. Good to have you back. Are you well caffeinated today?
A little bit too much, I think.
Well, good. That'll make it more fun. Missing in action today, unfortunately, is Gardner Bryant. If he happens to join us a little bit late, though, we'll just let him sneak in and we'll just keep the show rolling. So with that, let me say it has been 92 days since the Steam Machine and the Steam Frame were announced. And this is what's funny is I had this same note because we were originally going to record a week earlier than we are right now. And so I think I said, it's been 84 days since the Steam Machine and Steam Frame were announced. And later that day, Valve had the whole blog post about the non-delay or further
delaying the announcement of some elements of the things, maybe?
Yeah, there we go. Because people called it a delay. Steam Machine, Steam Frame are delayed. And I think we're all in agreement going, well, no, because Valve actually never said Q1 of 2026 when this stuff is releasing. They said early 2026, right? And so who knows what Valve's definition of early 2026 is. It's probably their same definition of the number 3. I don't know. Do you guys want to chime in at all about this this non-delay?
I didn't think it would be really this early anyway, because we all saw what was happening with RAM, storage, AI expansion, and all that. And you've had, Micron pull out of consumer RAM, and it's only going to get worse before it gets better. And they have to be so careful because the earlier they announce anything, the more chance it is the price is going to have to rise.
Yeah.
They've got such a ridiculously difficult position. I can't imagine what the Valve offices are like trying to work this out. It's utter madness.
Yeah, and I think the issue is whether prices keep rising or get lower, they're kind of screwed both ways. Because if they say, hey, it's going to be $1,000 because, prices, and then let's say a month afterwards, like RAM prices are halved because miracle something happens, then they have to say, now it's 800. So sorry, early adopters, you overspent. Maybe we're giving you some cash back. But we did pay those prices for the RAM, so can we reimburse? I don't know. And if it's the other way, they're going to have to raise the prices. We've seen how unpopular that has been for the Switch 2, for the PS5, for the Xbox. They all increased their prices recently, at least in France. I don't know if it's the same in the rest of the world. But it's super unpopular, so I don't know how they can handle this.
It's a no-win situation for Valve, and I feel like it's a no-win situation for anyone in the world right now who wants to build a PC or who wants to buy a new PC or a new console or or a stick of RAM. Yesterday, I was looking around, just kind of researching the price of NVMe drives. And the cheapest one I found was $323 for a 1 terabyte WD Black. That's half the price of a Steam Deck.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's just madness.
It's madness.
When you look at all the prices of everything, it's going to be even worse for the smaller hardware vendors, like A&Neo, 1X Player, GPD, and so on. Any of those companies that are going to be doing new hardware, whether it's handhelds or their mini PCs or anything like that, they're screwed. Like, I've seen some of the prices on the stuff they've just recently announced, and they're multiple thousands. It's like
multiple thousands?
They were already a niche. Now, some of them might not survive past the next year.
Gosh.
Yeah. And are you really going to pay like $1,500, $2,000 for, let's not say unproven, but maybe more niche hardware from manufacturers that I wouldn't say are established as something like Valve, Asus, or others? Are you taking that chance? I'm not sure.
Oh, it's ugly. It's ugly. Yep. I don't want to kick this off with too much bad news, but But Liam, Steam Decks are out of stock in the US, in Canada, and Asia. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, so like the price of RAM right now, people are like saying how it's like, bars of gold sort of thing. Looking at the Steam Deck OLED on my desk right now, is the price of that gone up in value now, or But it's crazy because this was bound to happen at some point. I mean, Valve are not a massive hardware vendor like Sony. How Sony announced only recently, they've bought up loads to cover the entire holiday season for the end of the year. Valve don't really have the power for something like that. So their stock levels, I imagine, are a lot closer to what they're actually expecting to sell. And because of the prices rising on so many components, well, obviously at some point they were going to run out. So now with the Steam Deck, it's, last I checked, out of stock in the US, Canada, and Komodo was saying it's out of stock all across Asia as well.
Oh, man. And so the 1 terabyte Steam Deck OLED has been retailing for $649 US since it launched. And so, like I said, like that's
something like that.
A 1 terabyte NVMe drive is half of that.
Yeah.
Right
even
now.
If you buy multiple tens of thousands of them at once, it's probably not going to drop below 250, maybe 200. That's still a third of the price of the thing. It's insane.
I guess what makes all of this hard to speculate is we don't have any insight into what Valve's contracts look like, what their stock looks like. Okay, so let's I think we should run down what are the theories about why it's out of stock. And I wanted to lead this off with, back when I was at Forbes, a similar thing happened with the original Legion Go. There were messages popping up on the Lenovo storefronts online that said, this item is no longer available. It was kind of a nebulous, like, not saying it's discontinued, not saying it's out of stock, it's just no longer available. And so all of the rumors started swirling like, oh, they're going to announce Legion Go 2, they're going to announce something else. And 2.5 months later, they announced Legion Go S powered by SteamOS, and Legion Go S or Legion Go 2. But I just want to put to bed any theory that Valve is about to announce a Steam Deck 2. There's no way. There's no way.
The worst time possible to try and announce something like the Steam Deck 2 right after they delayed the announcement of the rest. There's no way.
It's bad. Yeah, exactly. It's just bad optics. I mean, they have to get either the Steam frame or the Steam machine out the door before even talking about what's next for Steam Deck.
Pierre-Loup Griffet kept repeating, like on multiple interviews, that yes, of course they're looking at what they could do, but they really don't want to do it that close to the initial launch. They were saying they were looking for a more transformative new APU or something like that. So they're probably looking at stuff, but judging from what they said in interviews like 6 months ago, it seems way too soon compared to how they were framing it, at least.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, between the processor power and the battery especially, there's not a big enough jump. Because you look at all these more powerful handhelds, and to get that higher level performance, they're pulling more watts, so they have to stick bigger batteries in, so the devices are heavier, more expensive.
There's one that debuted at CES in January 2026 that just ships with an external battery pack that you like smack onto the back. I mean, they're just like, okay, we're throwing in all the power, but we're throwing in all the weight too. And we
Apple Vision Pro style, where you have your battery pack glued to the side of your pants. That's
so
difficult.
I guess there, the other possibility is, I guess the more likely possibility is they're just out of components.
Yeah.
Or they're going to announce a price increase.
It's probably both.
That could happen. Or they're going to announce like another iterative hardware upgrade to the Steam Deck. But I just don't see that happening. They won't call it a Steam Deck 2, but it would be kind of like that mild bump in overall specs that the OLED was, right? It wasn't just a brand new OLED screen. It was other little details that made it an overall better package. But I don't know. I think it's just component shortage, and I wish it was something else, but
The biggest problem is with the age of the Steam Deck hardware. If they did increase the prices on all of the models, you've got to think about it really massively struggles to run basically any new game that's coming out on the price to performance ratio. Is it going to be worth it for people to still keep buying it if they put the prices up? And I think that if they do, that's going to be something people are going to be really looking at a lot closer and just not buying them.
Yeah, you can have the argument that this device is not meant to run AAA titles, that it's like it can do it, but you shouldn't buy it for that. But at the end of the day, you're still selling the Steam library on a handheld device, and you're still expecting to be able to play those games, lower frame rates, lower resolutions, but you would expect to play them. I think maybe the logical explanation is just they have their stock really close to how much they think they can sell. People expected maybe a price increase with all of that stuff, so people bought a little bit more, maybe, Steam Deck than what they usually did, in expecting the prices maybe to go up in 2 months. Maybe they just sold what they had and they hadn't anticipated it. And then there's the fact that you cannot really renew your stock because everything is too expensive, so they're maybe just waiting a bit on it.
Oh boy.
Complicated.
Yeah, it's all the speculation, and
that's all we can do. I don't think they can expect consumers to swallow even a modest price increase for a device that's been out for, I don't know, definitely 2 years, 2 years and 3 months, I think is how old the Steam Deck OLED is.
Even $50 would be too much of an increase.
Even 50, you're exactly right. Yeah, anything right now is too much, especially with the age of the overall hardware inside.
Yeah,
it's tough, man. I would not want to be Valve's business unit right now trying to figure this out. I don't know.
Or maybe they just grabbed all their Steam Decks and linked them together to create a massive AI data center.
Hey, that's what people did. That's what people did with the PlayStation 2 when Sony allowed people to install Linux. They built these massive super servers with like 50 different PS2s
with Yellow Dog Linux.
That wouldn't be cool. No one should do that for AI.
No, absolutely not.
Any closing thoughts about that? About the bad news?
I guess we just have to wait. Yeah.
In the meantime, I would encourage anyone who's upset that maybe their PC will not run the latest and greatest AAA unoptimized titles on their Steam Deck or something, go play some indie games, because there's a ton of those out there. There's a ton. There's enough fantastic indie games to keep you satisfied until you die. So right now we just have to I don't know, ride this wave and hope that either this AI bubble bursts or that I don't know, Valve opens their own foundry. Valve opens their own foundry to produce memory and their own CPUs like Apple did. That's the future. No, I don't know. I don't know. All right, let's.
They've probably got enough money.
Yeah, but and the issue is they would make like version 1 of the CPU, version 2, and then it would stop, because they don't know what the number 3 means. So
yeah. The only thing I'll add to this is that we know, thanks to AMD's announcement earlier in the month, that they are producing the next generation SoC for Microsoft for their Xbox, and they say that it's launching in 2027. Which I feel like they beat Microsoft to the punch there. I don't know if that was planned.
Yeah, totally.
But
I think there were rumors, but I don't think Microsoft had confirmed anything.
Yeah, right. We can assume that the performance boost that Valve wants for the Steam Deck 2 experience is probably in development. It's probably close. Knowing how far out they have to plan these things years in advance to do the R&D and to do various iterations on it, it's in the works. We just don't have a timeline. So.